Good morning, everyone. Welcome back. Happy Monday. This is Faith Family Focus, and I am one of your co-hosts, Faith Suggs, former Duke women's basketball graduate and current brand marketing manager for SIG Sports, as well as CEO and founder of Brand by Faith. And this wonderful man next to me is my father, Shafer Suggs, former NFL player with the New York Jets and the Cincinnati Bengals, and has also served on the executive board as VP for the RPFPC, also known as the charitable arm of the NFLPA Chicago chapter. Good morning, Shafer Suggs. How are you?
Good morning, Faith. Happy Monday.
Happy Monday. There was a little echo there, but I don't see it anymore, so we're all good.
You don't see it or you don't hear it?
Hear it.
Okay.
Well, it was so loud you could see. So what a wonderful Monday. What a wonderful week. Aren't we glad basketball is like, this is the best time of year. Good morning. Good morning. Oh, I wish I was in West Palm Beach. That's nice. It's a little chilly out here. It looks warm outside, but it's not. It's not. That's we had snow this weekend. So that sounds about right. I have my retired and loving it shirt on today. Yeah.
Wait, how do you have a retired and loving it shirt? That should be
I'm retired from sports.
I see. You mean actually playing sports?
1 + 1 is 2. 1 + 1 is 2. You can't retire from an overall category in life, but thank you for clarifying that. Thank you. That was needed. Favorite time of the year is basketball. March Madness, when you have 17 different games going on. Women's and men's basketball, I think we have been off to a great start already. We've seen some giants fall, which I'm sure was predicted already.
So, what was your biggest upset so far? On the men's side.
On the men's side, well, on the women's side, NC State lost to Princeton.
Right.
I believe. But it was somebody in Utah in the Greenville region. But on the men's side, I mean, everyone's gonna say FDU, but good morning. But I know where FDU is, and we played against FDU in the NEC when I was coaching, so it's not a surprise there. And I did not like Purdue.
Really? Was that? So that's the conference that you coached in, right? Wow.
Yeah. NEC. So that's FDU. It's Sacred Heart, Long Island University, St. Francis Brooklyn University. I'm missing Merrimack, Mount St. Mary's, Central Connecticut State. So, I mean, mostly the Northeast, low to mid-major schools. But FDU is 20, 40 minutes outside Manhattan. You can drive.
How about that Ivy League? Princeton.
Not a surprise. I don't know why everybody always counts out the Ivies. I think that the Ivies are always sleepers. I just think that they have drew bad sides of the brackets the last couple of years. But I really like Princeton on the men's and women's side, even though I think Princeton women lost yesterday. I need to catch up. The women's side is a little confusing for me because they play the same times, but I'm pretty sure we can run through it. I have both brackets up here, but I want to say this about Purdue. I told you I didn't like Purdue. I told you when we were filling out the brackets together, I did not like Purdue. They're just they weren't. The Purdue last year I liked. I liked a lot. When they had Jaden Ivey, they were faster. I think the biggest issues with Purdue is that FDU had a little more grr to them. As in, like, we're going to punch you in the chest every single time you go to the basket. We're going to box out hard. And they did. And Purdue was like, can we just like slow down? Like go at our speed. And it's like they never adjusted at all. And in my opinion, the big guy, I think he's wonderful. I think he's very skilled. But I just don't think he should have been in that game.
Well, so your Uncle Mike obviously is on top of this because he's a big IU fan, and of course he struggled a little bit yesterday when they lost, but he was talking about Coach Painter has really never gotten really good guards. The only time he had a good guard was, you can read more into that, okay? But he only had one guard. It was one and done, and
Ivy.
He gets guards like he was. And what I saw earlier in the season with Purdue was they completely took their guard play out of, and so you were able to double up and triple up on the big guy.
And what did I tell you, Dad, about the Big Ten? Right? And every other conference, it's heavily relies on guard play and the speed of the game. And that's just the effect of Steph Curry. Okay. He's changed how important the guards are with the amount of time on the clock they have the ball. We're in a generation right now that the guards have the ball for 45 to 50 to 60% of the shot clock compared to when like Kareem and it was very heavily inside. That's not the game anymore.
Right.
He shouldn't have been in the game.
The traditional center is almost not even exist anymore. Now, Zach Edey is going to play somewhere, but he's going to struggle because, I mean, you in the NBA, you don't see that big dominant center that lacks mobility. You don't see it anymore.
Not anymore. Not with Giannis.
Right.
Not with Luka.
I mean, Giannis is 7 foot, right?
Huh?
So anyway, Purdue, after you shared that with me, I kind of deep dive into, of course, talking to your Uncle Mike, who's obviously a Big Ten analyst. He loves, assessing because I watched it and I go, you're exactly right. I said, Faith said the same thing, that they don't have guard play and they've never had really good part. Even back when Gene Katie was the coach, it was the same type of dynamic. That's why they never won big games. Ever.
Yeah, and here there's two sides of everything, right? It's who you feel comfortable recruiting, and also how can you get kids to go live in Indiana,
Lafayette,
Indiana, right? That's a big thing. It's not easy to recruit like the type of if he wanted some FDU guards, right? FDU just plucked them out of the city, just plucked them out. Right there's millions of good point guards in New York. It's the city for point guards, right? And so FDU is in the prime space to grab great guard play, right? Regardless of level, it doesn't matter, right? Guards are literally so important. So when I saw that game, one, they lacked speed, toughness. It just lacked the ability to keep up with FDU. And FDU, I think he knew it. I don't know why the coach acted like he didn't say what he said in the locker room. He was like, I've been watching, we can get them. Nobody's mad at you for saying that. Could be what he did was basically tell them like, hey guys, you could do this.
I'm gonna shock the world, he said.
Yeah, why not? And he had to apologize for it. And I was like, you don't have to apologize for that. Like, no one cares. Like that's because you did.
He did.
You did it. And because you did see something. You know what I mean? Like, trust your gut. Like, you saw something which everybody else was seeing. There's a reason why Purdue was a number 1 seed, but people have only seen them play once or twice this year. They weren't on prime TV.
Right.
There's a reason. They're not exciting to watch. And so he never adjusted. He never took him out the game. He could not keep up with that undersized 4. It just was an issue. So it wasn't surprising they lost that game. And I've seen FDU play. I've never won against FDU ever. Okay. Shane's never won against FDU. We've seen it. So it's like, no, it was not surprising at all. So yes, in my opinion, was that my favorite upset? I don't think it was an upset in my mind. I think not as strong of an upset as like UMBC years ago.
Right,
when they knocked off Virginia as the number 1 seed and then made it all the way to the Sweet 16 where they met Kansas State. And of course they didn't win that. But yeah, I don't think, in my opinion, that wasn't the one that really shook me. Because I just was not at all impressed by Purdue.
Yeah.
Now I am a very big fan.
Well, I just wanted to just right off the top of the show because there was a lot of big upsets, right?
Yeah.
I mean, so I'm gonna let you navigate this because we can go back and forth from men's to the women's. Do you want to start with the men's and then go to the women's? Because I want to commit, time to both of them. Because I think
Yeah. Well, I think on the women's side, so like we can kind of run through the Sweet 16 teams
okay.
right now.
Okay.
So Maryland, it plays Notre Dame.
That'll be a good game. That's always been a big rivalry, right?
Yeah. Because Maryland used to be in the I'm pretty sure it's so weird.
Maryland used to be in the ACC, didn't they?
They were in the
They went to
ACC.
the Big Ten.
Notre Dame was in the Big East.
Right.
Utah, LSU. Villanova, Florida Gulf Coast is in the Sweet 16. No, they play tonight to see who's going to go in the Sweet 16.
Did Stanford get beat?
Stanford got upset.
Wow. Stanford got upset. Yeah.
And people were a little worried at halftime because it was close.
Right.
And it was struggling with the size, not the size, the like physicality.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Indiana women play tonight to go to the Sweet 16. They play Miami.
Yeah, Indiana. They play Miami. So the bracket that I'm looking at, Faith, right now it's not updated. So I'm sorry.
Yeah, so Indiana plays Miami tonight.
Okay.
Florida Gulf Coast plays Villanova tonight. Villanova has one of the top players in history of Villanova right now, if you guys haven't seen her play. And then I think that's the last games we have to go to the Sweet 16. Oh, Oklahoma plays UCLA tonight.
Okay.
And South Carolina awaits the winner of that. So, in my opinion, looking at the teams left over now that Stanford's out, Maryland, and if Maryland beats Notre Dame, I think it's going to be them, South Carolina, Indiana, and LSU in the – well, hold on. Yeah, Stanford lost to Ole Miss. Virginia Tech's really good. Virginia Tech. Duke plays Colorado.
Okay, now I have it updated. So right now, Carolina is waiting for the winner of the okay. This is not updated either.
I got you. North Carolina playing Ohio State today at 3:00 our time, Chicago time. Duke plays Colorado today, our time, to see who can go to the Sweet 16. Louisville plays Texas. That's going to be a good game tonight at 6 p.m. Toledo plays Tennessee. Mac made it to the second round. Wow. And then you have, of course, LSU, Utah. No, not tonight. Florida Gulf Coast, Villanova, Oklahoma, UCLA is who tonight. So good games today, in my opinion. Out of that, I just think South Carolina is just head and shoulders above everybody. It's not a surprise there at all. That's the Dawn Staley effect. Plus, they have the best post player in NCAA right now on their team. So, I mean, I'm rooting for Kim Mulkey, quirky lady, but I am rooting for her. I'm rooting for Duke, of course, playing Colorado. They should win that. They're at their own hometown. They're at Cameron today. So they should make it out of the second round and get to the Sweet 16. That'll be the second Sweet 16, I got to say, in 6 years.
So how do you, just really quick, can you spend about 5 minutes on Duke and Carl Lawson? I mean, and how she's just took that program to a different level in terms of, as a former player, how do you feel about the job she's doing?
I mean, she's doing her job.
Okay.
I think she's doing her job. It's what she was hired to do.
Okay.
So, yeah. We were in the same position 6 years ago, and they considered us a failure a year later. So, it's a very dangerous job to take.
Okay.
And you have to kind of succeed in the 3 year. Shire went to the tournament in his first year. She got hit with COVID her first year, did not make the tournament the second year, and now they're in the tournament as a 3 seed. So, in my opinion, I think they're good. I don't think they're great, but I think that they play really good defense.
Okay.
And I think that's what kind of gets them. They hold teams to a very low level. right? And so that's one of the biggest things, is one of the things that we used to do in locker rooms is we set a scoring goal, is you try to keep the team to 56 and under. That's the goal. And if you can score more than 56 points, but keep them under 56 points, you win. They're keeping teams, like we're seeing third quarter scores at 35 points, 40 points from them as well. So that's my kind of thing. So offensively, I think they're skilled. I don't think they score at will as often, but their defense is unbelievable and it's very well scouted. Scout well. So yeah, that's why they should beat Colorado today. Then they'll play Iowa. Iowa may give them a little bit of a struggle. But I think in my opinion, we're back in the position Duke has been in historically. 3 to 6 seed, 3 to 5 seed, hosting at home.
Okay.
That's what you're supposed to be doing. Duke's at the end of the day, Duke historically has been a Final Four team. We had some down years, injuries, transfer portal, changing in hires, and COVID happened. So, no, they are doing a great job in the sense that they're doing exactly what they're supposed to be doing.
Okay.
They just need to finish, and then next year do it exactly the same way, because that's the hard thing, is you set the bar, you have to continuously always produce that way at that type of university. So that's why, it's very interesting on the men's side, we're going to get to that, is we don't have any blue bloods in the Sweet 16.
Wow, I know Kansas.
Wow. Not surprising, but not a surprise when you don't have Bill Self on the sideline.
Yeah.
He's a huge impact.
Right.
So in my opinion, Duke's doing what they're supposed to be doing. It's not something we have seen before. I have to make sure people don't know Duke women's basketball history. Duke women's basketball is legendary. Like, they're a Final Four team. They're a Sweet 16. Coach P went to multiple Sweet 16s and Elite 8s. Like, that's what you're supposed to do. So
the year that you went to the Sweet 16, I thought you drew a bad draw.
That's how it always works out.
Right.
Let me look on the bracket to see, but
if you'd have went on the other side, you would have probably made it to the Elite 8.
Yeah, Duke, this is the first time in probably 10 years Duke has not been on the same side of the bracket as UConn.
Wow.
Yeah.
But you're on the same side of South Carolina this time.
I would rather be on the same side as South Carolina. And if anybody knows women's basketball, they understand why that's a big thing, because South Carolina is still trying to earn its respect from the women's basketball community. And what I mean by that is, when UConn and South Carolina play, one side is going to get the calls and one is not going to get the calls. Yeah. And we're just now starting to see that shift happen, right, where he has his hand on women's basketball, and now it's starting to be like lack thereof.
Yeah, Coach Stanley getting the respect that she deserves.
The respect she deserves, but also, like, you know what it is. So yeah, so this is the first time we've ever not pulled UConn on the same side. So this is, in my opinion, the year to make it to the Elite 8 again, which has been almost just under a decade.
So let me ask you a question, Faith. What the impact on the portal has made on women's basketball? Is it more of an impact on the men's side or the women's side? As you look at these finals, these tournaments, do you see that the portal made an impact on maybe how good some of these teams are playing?
For sure. Tournament teams are always, you see a lot of age impacting who makes it to the tournament and especially this year, like, normally to get into the tournament, you had to have at least 20 wins. Now you're seeing on both sides on the men's and women's, like 20 wins is like nowhere near qualifying to get into the tournament. You have to be at like 25, 26, or Roberts was 31. That's 31 wins. Like, that's a lot of wins. Like, the only other team to really do that is South Carolina, and they're undefeated. So it's like, it's just, we're seeing how important age, maturity, and experience is. And so that's what a lot of things is, people are looking into the the portal to see like who can add to our roster and take us where we already are instead of like, but some teams, like a new coach will come in and be like, I'm scrapping the entire roster. We're just going to build from scratch. They have the opportunity to do that now immediately. That's what Carol Lawson was able to do because of the transfer rules.
Yeah. So Faith, just really quick for our viewers, there's some that will know really quick. Can you explain the portal versus and how it impacts where back in the days with the transfer, but how it works and how it impacts the roster immediately?
So transfer portal basically just came in. You couldn't originally, if you transfer, you had to sit out a year. And then there were rules like you couldn't transfer within conference. If you transferred within conference, you had to sit out 2 years, which in my opinion is like, who made these rules? As we're looking back on them now. And so now in the last year or 2 years, the transfer portal has been allowed to, if you can, it's just like basically it's a database that has access to like whoever wants to transfer. They just put their name in there, fill out their account, and then every like clips, highlights, stuff like that. So coaches can go in and say, okay, who's transferring from James Madison? They go look in, they're like, oh, she's transferring. Here's her clip. She's a guard. She's a 2023 graduate or whatever, right? She has this many years left on her eligibility. And then they call, basically starting last week, they start calling like former coaches, former players, just to try to get like, figure out like, like it's almost in a good space too, because coaches are like, all right, you're into the portal. Like, I appreciated your time with me. Please let me know what you need to do in your transition. So it's not a bad space at all. The one rule is that you cannot, if you transfer twice in your 4 years, you then have to sit out a year.
Okay.
You can't transfer twice and you can't just keep jumping around. That's not, they have a rule.
So after the second time, if you try to do it the third time,
no, if you transfer the second time, you have to sit out.
Okay. That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
That makes a lot of sense. Okay. I just wanted, because it's impact. I'm just trying to figure out how much this is impacting how some of these. I see more parity in the women's, with the exception of South Carolina.
It's not to like try to cut you off, but if you look at every roster right now, probably in the Sweet 16, you have an average of 3.5 transfers, probably.
Okay.
On the men's side as well.
Okay.
I know there was a tweet last week that went out on the 14th. It said the NCAA tournament hasn't even started yet. So this is before this tournament started. 315 Division I women's basketball players are already in the transfer portal. Wow. Of those 315 players, only 30 of them average 10 points per game. And only 25 of them average 5 rebounds per game. So it's also this idea that people are transferring, like, and just hoping that, like, they don't have the stats to transfer up.
But they're probably going to transfer because they're not getting the playing time to get the stats.
Maybe. Yeah, right. 100%. That's why that's like an iffy tweet, because you just never know. But it is very much like people are not just transferring to transfer up off these amazing experiences, or sometimes they're transferring laterally, and just gives them a little more freedom to just, play where they want to play, go to different schools for certain majors, play on a certain team that's going to maybe go to the Sweet 16. Like, coaches are always looking to add, like, coaches are in the portal. So it's just funny. And every team, like, I was watching a game last night, and there was a kid who played at Iowa State, and they put him on TCU. They recruited him for TCU, and now he's playing on TCU this year. He was at Iowa State last year. They're in the same conference, same dynamic, same everything, right? He just now is playing for TCU, and at the end of the day, he made it to almost the Sweet 16. Of course, they lost last night. But it was, you see these things all the time nowadays, because the portal just gives a little more freedom, and the tournament is directly affected because they can strengthen their roster and experience. Like, if you had the opportunity to recruit a high schooler, cool, that's a 4-year investment, but an immediate impact, which is now what people are expecting, you're going to be like, oh, let me just take someone who's already been to the tournament. Right. Let me add that experience to my locker room.
Right. Well, thank you for giving that insight, because I think that was important, because I began to start thinking about that as you were speaking about it, and our viewers probably want to better understand the impact of the portal and how it's having on not just now, but as in the future. It changes the portal and NIL just kind of changes the landscape of recruiting altogether.
100%. Yeah, it does. Men's and women's. It doesn't discriminate. It does not. So, on the women's side, South Carolina is going to run with it, in my opinion. I like Caitlin Clark at Iowa. if you have not seen South Carolina play, you won't understand. South Carolina at the end of the day are head and shoulders, even though they don't like shoot the three ball well, in my opinion. It's just they're in an elevated space.
They have a lot of size.
They have a lot of size. They always have size.
Yeah.
They always have size. She is like the post playing factory. They always have size.
Right.
So yeah, that's my thing. And like historically, they've been there. That's the hard thing, right? Like you if you've always been there. So
right.
Okay, but on the men's side,
okay,
so Sweet 16 is set. Sweet 16 is set. You got Alabama playing San Diego State. I had San Diego State. Creighton's playing Princeton. What I tell you about Missouri though too. I told you about Missouri.
Wait, time out. How do you have San Diego State over Alabama?
I don't have San Diego State beating Alabama. I had San Diego State making it that far.
Okay, I'm sorry. I thought you said you had said okay. So you
Alabama's playing San Diego State. Creighton's playing Princeton. Florida Atlantic is playing Tennessee.
Right.
Kansas State's playing Michigan State.
Stop. What's going on with Kansas State?
Nothing. We told you about this.
Wow.
But let me say something. That point guard, where's he from?
I know.
Who recruited him? The one who hit that three, where is he from? Who recruited him? Harlem, New York. Coach Shane Southwell.
Right. I get you.
Bruce, and then also let's talk about Miami. Nigel Pack.
Well, who recruited him?
We have three former Bruce Weber, two backcourts for Bruce Weber in the last year in the Sweet 16.
Wow. Okay. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, let me just.
I like that.
Houston plays Miami. I like Miami, even though I really like Houston. I like both teams. Xavier plays Texas.
Miami, Indiana game. I didn't get a chance to see it.
Okay. Here's my let me finish and then we'll go through each of them.
Okay.
Xavier plays Texas.
Right.
Arkansas plays UConn. Gonzaga plays UCLA. Gonzaga, the thin of their teeth almost made that.
What?
We barely made it yesterday. Okay, so Alabama's gonna mollywop San Diego State. They should. Creighton and Princeton. Creighton's gonna win that, I guess. I don't really know. I don't think I might watch that game. I think I just might want to see the result because I do want Princeton to do well. Florida Atlantic, Tennessee. Tennessee's gonna go ahead and run with that because they just are grown men. Kansas State, Michigan State. I think.
Slow down. What? Tennessee is tough, man.
They're stronger. They showed they're older. They're older. They're bigger. And that's what you also saw with Duke. It was kind of like, oh, you guys aren't ready yet. So back to the drawing board. But Tennessee was like head and shoulders in strength over a lot of their opponents. So it's like at the end of the day, Florida Atlantic, like, yeah, you played around with FBU. You can't play around with Tennessee. That's not going to happen. It's going to be no. Okay, so we can go ahead and move that. But Kansas State, Michigan State. I think Michigan State is the most disorganized, undisciplined I've ever seen Tom Izzo put on the floor. But they play so hard. Like they play so hard. You know what I mean? Like they just and they somehow win.
Yeah, I saw them play
earlier in the season. Yeah, I saw them play earlier this season against Gonzaga when they play on like the ship. I was like, why is this team in this game?
Right.
So I want Kansas State to win, obviously, but when you talk all about blue bloods, like Michigan State's up there as one of like the legendary tournament teams. Right. So, and he's one of the only remaining coaches. And what he did to Marquette, in my opinion, is Marquette kind of plays similar in a way to the size and build of Kansas State. So I'm just interested to see that one. I'm definitely going to be tuned in on when they're in the Garden. All right, so let's talk about Miami and Indiana, though. I really like, what's his name? Trace Jackson Davis.
Yeah, his dad is Dale Davis.
I know who his dad is, but he also his stepdad. That's why he has
I
2
know.
X names.
Right.
You have to clarify that for people.
Right. I know.
Because that means like imagine who he could be if there was like full 100% parenting.
Right.
But I think like he is unbelievable.
Did you
I
see
saw
him
him
play?
saw them play against Northwestern earlier in the year.
Oh my! Did you see him play not this last game, but the game before? He was
Penn State. He made them look like children.
Oh my goodness!
They looked like little kids running around him, and he just was looking at them like, "Get off me! What are you doing here?"
He's good. I saw him play IU against Michigan State when I went down with your Uncle Mike, and he was missing a lot of just short shots, and so I didn't see it. When I saw him play against, what did they play? The game before the one they lost, Thursday night. He was just phenomenal. He had a run of 4 shots in a row where not the one big dunk shot and then the fake to the paint and then spin to the baseline and dunked it.
Because here's the thing about him. He doesn't have to score to look exemplary.
Yeah, you're right.
The way he passes the ball, his court vision, he's very Ben Simmons, Giannis mixed in there. Like it's just so his court vision's unbelievable. He does not have to score. But when he does score, you're just like,
they're young. They're young, Faith. That's a young team.
Yeah, so he's not going to be there next year. But I do think that they need to have him, in my opinion, as a lottery pick. He's a lottery pick. Like he's ready. You know what I mean? Like you see a lot of these guys who they have like listed, and I know the G League, like they're also pulling from the G League too. You know what I mean? Like that's disrupting how the draft process works. But it's like he's a lottery pick off pure just strength, size, and impact going into the league. Like he looks like an NBA pro. So like, in my opinion, the way he passes the ball now, people can question his motor maybe, but I think that he just plays at that pace and no one speeds him up. You know what I mean? And in my opinion, that's also good. So depending on where he would end up, in my opinion, if I'm an NBA owner or GM, I'm like, all right, we got to pay attention to this kid. You know what I mean?
Have you seen him shoot a 3 yet? Can he shoot 3?
Yeah, I can get a 3. I can make 3.
That's right. Okay.
But he's how tall? You know what I mean? Like, and then like he gets to the basket like a grown man. So it's kind of like,
yeah,
you know. But Miami, of course, they just shot better than them, and they were faster than them. And I thought Indiana was fast, but like at the end of the day, what I say about guard play.
Yeah,
guard play really, 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 really came about.
These are tough guards, though. Very quick, tough guards, man. Just
like you're guaranteed every single one of Miami's like in their starting lineup and one off the bench and Nigel Pack. We've seen what Nigel Pack could do. You saw what Nigel Pack did against Kansas. So it's kind of like, no, Miami might get Houston if that hamstring or groin is still bothering Houston's guard. Miami may get to the Elite Eight. You know what I mean? Like it's not crazy if Houston loses to Miami at all.
Yeah. So Xavier in Texas.
Texas.
Okay.
Yeah. I just like Texas. I like Texas. Disruption. All they do is disrupt. Arkansas, UConn.
You're going to UConn, aren't you?
It has to be UConn.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But Arkansas, man, they play hard. You know what I mean? They play hard. And that one's going to be a really good game. It really is. It really is. But it's, and on the topic of UConn, all that stuff, St. John's is open up. And ESPN released an article last night that Rick Pitino is seriously considering St. John's. But you know who also they say might be considering St. John's? Our good old friend from the FDU Knights. He's also seriously considering St. John's. He's also seriously considering Iona if Rick Pitino goes to St. John's.
Who's your old friend?
Your FDU Knights. Farley Dickinson.
Oh.
I
Wow.
don't. So it's gonna be. You got to remember, like while we're watching this, we're also seeing like these kids make these opportunities for themselves, but also like these coaches are like making legitimate opportunities for themselves because like we're about to see a lot of stuff happen, and the tournament always changes things. It could change your entire life, and he changed his life this week. And if he stays at FGU, he's crazy.
Well, he
but,
gets kids to play the way he got them to play, man.
But that's just he recruited for that. You know what I mean? Like he brought over 4 of his guys. Right? We saw the same thing happen. The Cleveland State coach who went to coach at Missouri, he brought over his Cleveland State guys, and they played at Missouri, and Missouri went to the stinking tournament, the second round.
Yeah.
All right, so, but yeah, Arkansas, UConn is gonna be really good. Arkansas just playing so hot right now. They're playing so hot.
Yeah.
But I don't know about
UCLA is tough.
UCLA is tough. They're tough. They're tough. And Gonzaga needs to bring their A game. But I will say this, Gonzaga always pulls a West team. Like, I haven't seen how do they just play and then show up in the Sweet 16? It's just like, in my opinion, I was watching something the other day on Jimmy Kimmel Live, and he was like, all right, this is a time of year where all of a sudden we realize Gonzaga University exists. They just pop up in this magical place. Right. And they play all these people, and then they're somehow in the Final Four. Yeah. It is. Gonzaga is like a sleeper, and they always pull these easy routes. And it's not easy because everybody team in March Madness is hard. But it's always funny seeing that. So, I mean, I don't know. Gonzaga really struggled last night. They struggled last night against TCU. But here's the thing about TCU. TCU is really good and really physical. And so that might have been it. UCLA is not as physical as TCU. So this might be more of like a West Coast Pac-12 style of play game. And Gonzaga might win that way. You know what I mean? If you try to shoot an offense, Gonzaga, you'll lose.
Right.
You got to muscle them up. So we'll see what UCLA does. But in all, looking at each Sweet 16, let me once again, let's just do the men's because we can't do the women's until next week because of they don't play yet. They have games tonight to figure out who the final teams
are. They're like, are they 2 or 3 days behind?
Women are just 1 day behind.
1 day behind, okay.
Yeah, they'll play today and we'll get the final Sweet 16 tomorrow. Okay. So it's Alabama, San Diego State, Creighton, Princeton, Florida Atlantic, Tennessee, Kansas State, Michigan State, UCLA, Gonzaga, UConn, Arkansas, Texas, Xavier, Miami, Houston. Who's winning the national championship game? Alabama, San Diego State, Creighton, Princeton, Florida Atlantic, Tennessee, Kansas State, Michigan State, UCLA, Gonzaga, UConn, Arkansas, Texas, Xavier, Houston, or Miami?
I think the winner of Kansas State has a chance. So I think it's going to be Alabama, Kansas State, Houston, and Gonzaga. And then I think Houston's going to beat Gonzaga. And I think Alabama's going to beat K-State. And then I'm gonna go with Alabama for the national championship.
I don't know if Houston's gonna make it out of Kansas City.
Well, you know, we did our practice. We did our practice together. It broke quick, didn't it?
Yeah, I don't think Houston's gonna make it out of Kansas City. They just got to take so many hits. Like Miami's a hit. The winner of Xavier and Texas is a hit. Like
I know.
They're 2 physical games, right? Alabama has the easiest.
Okay, so let me ask. You got 16 teams right now, right?
Yep.
Which one of those teams out of the 16 is not capable of being a national championship team?
Creighton or Princeton.
Okay.
Which San Diego State's not.
That's 3.
I don't think Xavier is.
before. Let's remember that for next week, okay?
I just don't think, like, we're talking about national championship game. We're not talking about winning this week. I'm about the
Right.
national championship
No,
game.
let's just remember if
Because here's the thing people forget.
Huh?
This is what people forget. They've only played 2 games. There's 6 games. 6 games in the postseason. 6.
Okay.
Right? And your body at this point has already played 35 games, 32 games, right? 34 games.
You got to think of the team with the best depth.
The best depth,
mm-hmm.
The overall resources sometimes. That's why at the end of the day, cold tough. You know what I mean? Like rehab.
Right.
Who I mean, at this point, everybody's chartering, but like, how are they chartering? You know, like there's a lot of stuff that goes into it. And
we'll talk about that a little bit, because that in the back, that does impact, what happens before a game and after a game, and how you're treated, how you travel, and how you eat. I mean, isn't it at this particular time everybody gets equal stuff though?
Well, I mean, equally given from March Madness, but like you have to understand, some people already are like, Alabama's having a different training table than San Diego State is in a way. You know what I mean? Like Gonzaga's in a different viewpoint. Here's what I also say about Gonzaga, and the reason why they always make it far is because throughout the season, they don't take, like, early in the season they played Michigan State. They play like some hard hitters, but then throughout conference play, they just have to tune up, stay disciplined, score. St. Mary's gave them a little run for their money, but by the time they get to here, they're like, all right, we are good to go, right? But a team like that came out of maybe the SEC or the ACC, the SEC this year in the Big 12, they're like, gosh, we just played 2 tournaments. You know what I mean? So, yeah, it does. Everyone gets equal. Same on the women's side. You know what I mean? Like, it's all equal. It's all given, like, same food, same good hotels, same everything. But it's same flight styles. Like, right, they have like big jets, and they'll bring everybody with like fan bases, alumni, stuff like that. But it's the band. But it's like there's so much more to it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Really, it's 6 games. 6 games. And that those 6 games are like, they're brutal. You know what I mean? Like, you have 2 games within 1 day of each other, and then you have 5 days of rest. So you kind of like also as coaches have to figure out, how are we going to keep them in shape while also not burning them out? How do we keep them stay focused on the game while spring break's happening? Like, there's a lot of stuff going on. There's a lot of like things going on. You know what I mean? So it's always the teams that can like really, that's why teams return, because they've already been there. That's why it's easier for them to do it, because they've been this experience before and they're not as wide open. So that's why Gonzaga always finds a way in there, because they do it. They've done this. That's why Duke's always, once they get it figured out, and that's why I say don't cancel out Michigan State, because how many times has Michigan State been to this point in their season? You know what I mean? The reason why he's a Hall of Fame coach. So
it's a different stage for some of these.
It's a huge different stage in comparison to like waking up, going to breakfast, and then shoot around. You wake up, you guys watch film, they bus you to the arena. You have to wait until the other team, they have 60 minutes or 120 minutes or on a certain, they have the clock up. Then you can't touch the balls. Once you touch the balls, they have to start your clock. Then you have shoot around. You get to the gym early, so you can do like press conference. Like they have like the locker rooms open for media. Media can come in. There's a lot of sitting around, staring at each other, and then you hop on the court, and then you know what I mean. It's a lot of stuff like that. And then you have media again, and then you go eat lunch, and then like your families are there, and you know what I mean. It's an overall great experience, and to be able to experience it is wonderful. But it's like it's a lot of like
distraction,
a lot of sitting around.
Right. Okay.
Because a lot of times you go out there like 2 days early, a day early, compared to you getting there a day before the game or the evening before the game. You get out there 48 hours before.
Okay, so who do you have in the national championship game? Who's the winner? I had Alabama.
No, they have such an easy way. They do. They have the easiest way. If Alabama doesn't win this, and I will say this, for the type of year Alabama has like with just the amount of corruption and scandal around their program, for them to make it to this point in their season and still playing is very impressive. I will say that.
Well, were you surprised that Creighton beat Baylor? They beat NC State, then they beat Baylor, and now they play Princeton.
And I think they'll beat Princeton. But I think Princeton could beat, like, they play the same way. It's like, it's not surprising that they beat Baylor, just because Baylor kind of just like, I don't know. This year, it didn't look like the same Baylor we're normally seeing. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Alabama, Final Four.
You got K-State? You have them?
I don't think K-State's winning the national championship. I mean, of course, we would want that, right? But I don't know if they got to play Michigan State and then Tennessee.
Well, those are two tough teams.
Come on, man. Like, that's just like a lot of, that's like I said about the beating. It's a beating. Houston has
I feel bad for the Duke kids. I felt bad for them. It was like,
well, because it was just like one, that was the whole game plan in the very beginning, was to like hit them hard so that they were like, because this is for a lot of them, like this was their first tournament.
Yeah, I don't think Coach Shire even was able to prepare them for that.
That wasn't a, they were mentally prepared. It was a just pure, like, they're older than you.
Right.
You're not yet, but we will. You know what I mean? Like, but they're older than you. Definitely, for sure. Like the same way Duke treated Oral Roberts, Tennessee. Like, you know what I mean? It was just like you keep seeing. It was like, nope, there's always someone bigger. But yeah, I think I'm not gonna pick Gonzaga.
Okay.
I'm not, but somehow Gonzaga always sneaks in there. But I just think they have a hard way for the first time, and they got to play either UConn or Arkansas or UCLA. They got to play UCLA. They got to play either Arkansas or UConn. That's hard stuff. And then they got to either play Texas or Miami, Houston. Look, I don't know who's going to win. I'm looking at it, and it's such a weird thing. Alabama, at the end of the day, is the one seed that I think could do it. But Alabama.
They have a lot of distractions. I think as they get bigger and bigger exposure, those distractions will be more prevalent, and that could impact them too.
You're saying Alabama?
Alabama, yeah. As they get more center of attention, hopefully that doesn't become an issue. But it could be a distraction.
I think if Alabama didn't get distracted by what happened this season, they're not. I don't think
they're good. They're just like, my goodness.
Yeah, and they're not like super old. You know what I mean? So yeah, no, I think it'll be interesting for sure, and we'll revisit it on Monday for sure.
How much time do we have, Faith?
We're about to close.
Okay. I was going to talk a little bit about Aaron Rodgers, but in the Jets. But
no, please go ahead. I'm still awaiting this illustrious announcement, though.
Well, they were trying to negotiate a plan,
Some people are saying he shouldn't be negotiating; he just should show up. And I was like,
show up. I agree with you. He should show up, and he should also choose a different number. That's my opinion. Even though Joe offered his number, I think there's only one number 12 with the New York Jets. I think he should. You and I know that Aaron is probably not going to do that, but that's just my opinion.
This is the most irrelevant piece of the issue. The number. His issue is he wants to bring Odell Beckham. And I think here's my thing about this. I understand why he wants to do that. And here's why I will say. Because when people go play for the New York Jets, their careers just crash and burn.
Oh my goodness, mate.
Like, think about, they go to play quarterback for the New York Jets and it crashes and burns. And then their next job is like they're at the top of the rainbow, enjoying their experience. Let's be real. Well, if I'm going to go end my career in New York, where it's cold, and the media is going to tear him up. If I'm going to New York, y'all better get me someone to pass to. That's what I do agree with.
Right.
That's what I will say, because if he goes there and he doesn't produce with what's on the field, they're going to be like, he shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame. He shouldn't do this. They're going to do that.
Right.
So it makes sense why he was like, if you guys want me to go to this hostile environment that has yet to produce a great quarterback since 1960 something.
68. We won a Super Bowl.
You guys need to give me a wide receiver. I get that. But I also get why we're back to that thing where people are like, well, he should just be happy for the experience. Look, I think Aaron Rodgers is a cuckoo bird, but I do think that he can throw the heck out of a football, and he's extremely talented. And it makes sense business-wise why he wants to go into this situation with some like insurance.
If he's smart, he would humble himself and go. Don't be the puzzle, but to be the piece of the puzzle that they've been missing.
What puzzle?
Don't be the whole, don't come in.
How about Zach Wilson saying he's like, I'm gonna make his life hard? Zach, it's your second year.
Zach is probably needs to be looking for a new team.
What is he talking about?
See, that's why Zach is in the situation he is in, those type of comments.
Because what type of Aaron Rodgers is going to walk in and not even look at him? Do you know what Brett Favre did to me? You think I'm worried about you? Brett Favre made Aaron Rodgers' life HE double hockey sticks for at least 3 seasons. Like, right. Come on. When he said that, I was kind of like, oh, so you don't really care about the team. You care about you.
That's his problem.
Got it.
That was funny.
I have a lot more in common than they think.
I didn't hear that one. I did not hear that one. That is funny.
He's like, I'm gonna this, and you're gonna take reps away from Aaron Rodgers in practice. He doesn't need the reps. Like, what are we talking about? That was the wildest thing I've ever seen. So, all right, so great show today. We talked March Madness. We will jump back on Monday to hopefully have Elite 8 to have a conversation about and kind of figure out who's on the women's side, who's going to pull away, even though we think it's South Carolina. We know it's South Carolina. It's going to be South Carolina. So thank you, everyone, for joining us today on Faith Family Focus. Once again, this is a vehicle for us to help sustain and strengthen the family core of our viewers and those around us. And, of course, our slogan.
Let go, let God. Let go, let faith. Let go, let love. Go JETTS, Jets.
Happy March, everybody.